Hello and welcome to another video. Now, in this episode, we're taking a look at waves that no longer exist. So it's going to be a super interesting one, so let's dive in. First up, we've got Bruce's Beauties in South Africa. Now, this is a really famous wave. Bruce's was famous for its appearance in Endless Summer. Nowadays, Bruce's doesn't really work very often, and because of the restoration project, it stopped the offshore wind blowing the sand to form the banks. Basically just stop the wave working, or at least it does work, but just not very often. If you live in this area, please let me know what happened to this wave, because obviously I'm not an expert, I've just read up on it a couple of times. Next, we head to the Portuguese island of Madeira. So in Madeira, you've got a wave called Jardim do Mar. So Jardim do Mar is a wave that put the island on the world surfing map. Fortunately, due to the extension of the seawall, the wave basically doesn't break anymore. The seawall was just built on top of the reef where the wave used to break along. So now, unless it's low tide and really solid, you basically can't surf it. Jardim used to be like a world-class right-hander where, you know, you could surf it and actually rip into it. Now, I actually went there last year. If you haven't already, check out my full video up here. And yeah, checked it a few times, but it was basically just unsurfable, just waves breaking along these boulders. I don't know if you guys have read the book Barbarian Days. Will Finnegan, the guy who wrote it, he spent a lot of time there before that wall was built, so it's a really interesting read. So if you haven't already, I'll leave the link to that book down in the description. Next up, we've got Kira. So while Kira is not technically lost, it does still break. Kira, that was once like a perfect freight train, hollow right-hander, completely disappeared for years. Dredging of the Tweed River made Kira disappear, but it actually created what we now know as the Superbank. So Snapper Rocks didn't used to be as good of a wave, it used to be all about Kira. The dredging of the Tweed River formed the Superbank, so that's why now we have Snapper and Greenmount. But before that, Kira used to be the world-class wave. Next up is Sebastian Inlet. So Sebastian Inlet was a right-hand wedge, and still is to some extent, that shaped the early surfing days of Kelly Slater and the Hobgood brothers. It was one of Florida's best waves. It was a wedgy right-hander, and it was a wave that I guess added some substance to an otherwise like flat and lackluster Floridian coast.
But then they came in and they changed the angle of the jetty, and it even further destroyed the wave.
Due to the extension of the recreational boat harbour and the jetty there, it basically destroyed the wave, and now the wave doesn't really break. If you live in the area, please let me know if it does still break and what it's like compared to what it used to be. Because yeah, I'll be interested to find out more information. So next up, we've got one of the most famous cases of wave extinction ever. Back in 1965, the world famous Killer Dana went extinct after the construction of a new harbour. Despite protests by the local surfing community, the construction went ahead, and as you can see in the images here, the harbour wall was built directly through the lineup. Since then, the wave never broke again. So this is one of the most drastic changes in our list, and a wave that's never going to return. Next up is Fukushima. The tsunami that devastated the Japanese coast in 2011 caused a nuclear meltdown at Fukushima, so an exclusion zone was set up around the area because, you know, it's contaminated with nuclear waste. And this unfortunately meant that one of the waves that broke close to the nuclear power plant, we can no longer surf it due to the risk of radiation. This one's a pretty strange one. You know, it's a wave that is still there, but because of the exclusion zone that is still in place today, nobody can surf it. If you're from Japan and you're watching this, please provide more information on the wave here that was lost. And lastly, we've got a wave called Harry's in Mexico. Now, the Baja Peninsula in Mexico is such a wave-rich region. There's so many other world-class waves here that I guess it doesn't seem as bad, but Harry's used to be one of Baja's best wave, like a big wave like Bommy Right. But unfortunately, the whole thing was basically buried due to the construction of a huge like liquid gas terminal built right on the reef and on the headland from where it broke. So that essentially just ended the wave. Thankfully, there's loads of other waves in the area. So yeah, unfortunately, this is an amazing wave we have now lost. So yeah, I guess there's a lot of other waves that are under threat around the world. Another one in Mexico down south is Punta Conejo. So that's Salina Cruz region. There was plans to extend the port there in Salina Cruz as well. Fuerteventura, there's rumors of plans to extend the port there, which is gonna affect a couple of world-class waves in the area. If you guys know of any other waves that are under threat, please let me know in the comments. It's something that we have to take seriously as surfers, because these construction projects and things like that are gonna continue to happen, and there's a lot of waves around the world that are under threat from the damage of these projects. So it's something, I guess, as surfers we can pull together, and we might be able to have a positive impact and stop them from happening. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Any information on the places I've talked about today, or on other waves that are under threat, please let me know down in the comments. But for now, it's goodbye from me, and I'll see you in the next episode.